Wouldn't you want to know my VA loan mistakes? Well, we're going to go over them. All right, and there's a few. Okay, we're not talking about just one. There's a few on just one transaction on one deal. I'm Mercedes the Military Realtor, and as a service member homeowner that has served in your boots before, I know what it's like to go through the VA loan process. I know what it's like to be in the service. I know what it's like to transition out, right? And I know what it's like to be out on your own 2 feet. All right, so let's get started on my VA loan mistakes. Like I said, there's more than a couple. All right, so number one in this, we got to start with searching, right? Well, I wanted a single family home specifically. I didn't want multifamily for a few different reasons, right? So choosing a single family for me was important because I thought it would bring the best appreciation over a short amount of time compared to multifamily, which can be more cash flow heavy. Of course, there's appreciation with value adds and just appreciation over time in the market, which is really inflation anyways. But at the time, I was just focused on, let me get a single family. It's quiet. I'm not dealing with renters and stuff like, other than the tenant that I had in there while I was house hacking. Okay, but a little bit easier than multifamily. At least that's what I thought. And one of the big things with multifamily as well, whether you're building it or you're buying it, is you need money up front for reserves, right? So for the multifamily, you need 6 months of reserves, of the mortgage. So if the mortgage, who knows what the mortgage is, right? On a up to 4 unit multifamily, let's say it's $6,000, you need 6 months, 36, so you need 36K. On top of earnest money, you may need earnest money to put down as well, and you may be tied up when it comes to cash on cash capita on the deal at the time. Why not just, this is my first time, let's go a little simple and let's do a single family home, right? That was the mindset at the time, all right? And that's when I got slapped with my earnest money surprise. I was like, I thought the VA loan was 100% down payment. What is earnest money? Who is Ernest, first of all, and that's his money. What does that have to do with me, right? So at the time, I think that my realtor educated me on what earnest money is, but I truly believe it went through one ear and out the other. Right, during this transaction, I'm doing workups in the desert, right? I'm taking phone calls by my lender to talk about rate buy down and stuff like that. So I could definitely understand if my brain wasn't necessarily fully there and I just missed about earnest money. But we had to make it happen, right? So between a little bit of savings and between some credit card usage, right, pulling out the cash on those credit cards, I was able to get what I needed to get that earnest money deposit to the seller in time for our contract. And then the next week, I was at E5, E6 at the time. The next week got paid, so it wasn't an issue. And to be honest, it wasn't really until I became a homeowner that I was able to save a lot of money. I don't know how, but I was house hacking, so I had a roommate paying for pretty much half the rent, right? Or excuse me, half the mortgage, which definitely helped out. All right, so let's keep going. That was the first mistake I would say, is not being prepared with the entire process, right? From A to Z. I want my realtor to walk me through the entire process from A to Z, and I want them to present things that I may need to bring to the table. Now, depending on the property, depending on the seller, depending on your realtor, depending on your expectations, right? Negotiations may be different and you may get concessions. You may not have to bring anything to the table. You may leave with a check. Some people do. My last client got $17,000 in concessions, right? That's not a $17,000 check, but that's $17,000 in concessions, right? So it depends on the property, like I said, on the realtor, on a few different conditions. But the point is that if you're educated, right, you have a realtor that's walking you, that's guiding you, that's answering all your questions, it makes it so much better. And that's not to say my realtor didn't do that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I have really bad memory. And at the time, I was going through high up-tempo stuff. Don't really remember, but that's what I would go back and redo is a little bit of more education on the entire process. And that's exactly what I do. I provide content and consultations as well, guides about the entire process from A to Z, whether you're a buyer or a seller, right? As a professional, we're here to explain that process and what may come up. That's why I like to use the word may, because you may get money back, you may get concessions, or you may not. You may have to bring money to the table to even close the deal. A lot of people don't talk about inspection fees, right? So when it comes to bringing money to a deal, when it comes to the VA loan, there are a few considerations. So there's the earnest money, of course. That's what you need. You may need when it comes to the offer. Depends on the seller, right? You have inspection fees, right? Inspection fees. You may have an appraisal fee as well. There may be some title fees and closing fees as well. There may be broker fees, either for the listing broker or for your buyer broker. It will depend on which side you're on, right? So there's a few of these fees here that may be paid by the seller, they may be paid by you, or they may be included into your loan, right? So though there's a big difference of what may happen. You may be able to get into a deal and everything is zero down, no money up front, even no earnest money, great, and you somehow leave with a check. That may be a possibility. Or there may be a $10,000 earnest, and for some reason you may need to put money down if, let's say, you're over your entitlement or you're doing it with a co-borrower that isn't a VA homeowner, right? But these are the conversations that your realtor needs to have with you just in case, right? Just so it's not a blind side of, I thought this was just going to be a walk through the park, okay? It's not always a walk in the park. It can be, all right? But we got to be prepared, and we got to be with the right people to guide us through the process. So earnest money, that was number one. From that, always prepare for earnest money. Like I said, it could be $0, it could be $1,000, it could be $10,000, but it's not the same as a down payment and can vary drastically. All right, so don't get caught off guard. All right, understand what earnest money is and where you're going to get it. If you're actually going to start putting offers in, gotta have it. You can. But a realtor's really not going to want to work with you, and people aren't going to want to work with you if you're just throwing in offers and you don't have your earnest ready, right? All right, so moving on, we have choosing the right, choosing the right realtor. It's incredibly important, and I did my due diligence to make sure I chose my realtor that matched me when I bought my first home. And honestly, your realtor can make or break your entire experience, your entire deal, not just with the VA loan, but with any type of transaction. And let's talk about how I found my exact realtor. So this was in San Diego, and I worked with a realtor that matched my specific needs and understood me, right? What I see a lot is a lot of people work with personalities that aren't conducive to their own, or they're not efficient. Right? There's a lot of emotions, or there's miscommunication, there's this, there's ego, all these things. My realtor understood, look, I'm in the military, I don't have time for this. I'm not going to curse. I don't have time for this stuff. All right, this is what I'm looking for. This is my criteria. Go find it, please, and tell me what else you need from me. He understood. I'm ready to go, ready to shoot, right? And that's what I needed. Now, if I would have met a realtor, let's say I reach out to a company, I say, hey, I'm looking for a realtor, or I reach out to a friend, right? They connect me with someone, I have a conversation with them, right? I have to interview them. I'm hiring that person. All right, we have to realize that. You are the customer. And I'm telling you this as a realtor, right? So if you hire me as your agent, I work for you. I have duties to you, and we have to remember that. So it's your responsibility to interview me. So in this case, it was my responsibility to interview whatever realtors. So if I would have ran into, thankfully, I believe this was the first realtor I ran into. I don't know the how, but God put me in the right place, right time, knew I didn't want to waste time. But if I would have been placed with someone that wasn't my personality type, or someone that I realized that I couldn't work conducively with, I'm just going to look for another realtor. What I see too much is people trying to put squares in circles because they want to be nice, because they're for everybody. If you're for everybody, you're for nobody. That's it. That's how I look at it. If you're for everybody, if you don't have a rock to stand on, a why, a special type of people that you would love to work with, if you don't have the ability to have the introspective thoughts to analyze who you are and who you work best with, to each their own. To each their own. But that's why I'm extremely specific, and I tell people I work specifically with VA loan and military folks. No ifs, ands, or buts. Why? Because I come from that community. I am military. My friends are still serving. My friends still need help. There are people still going in every single day. Right now, there's people getting yelled at boot camp going in. And they need to know their benefits. They need to know about real estate benefits. They need to know about their GI Bill, Montgomery Bill. They need to know about getting out, transitioning out, the programs and the benefits when you're out. They need to be prepared for that. So that's my why. That's specifically who I advocate for. I know who my people are, my audience is. So that connects though when you're looking for someone, whether it's a realtor, a lender, an accountant, whoever it is, you're building a relationship with them, and it's an important, and I would say to a certain extent, intimate relationship with 7 billion people on this earth. Please shop around for people that match your personality and who you are, because that is what really, really, really matters. Drop the ego, drop this, drop that. Can you communicate with someone and they get you? Do they not question you? Do they believe you? Do they have respect for you? And do you have the same for them as well? Just because you're hiring someone, right, doesn't mean that they're your lackey or that I'll leave it at that, okay? Right? And they have just as much as a right to interview you and to fire you. So keep that in mind. A lot of people don't think that. They think that they have a lot of us by the collar of, well, you want this commission, you want this deal. Look, how my life's set up, I do not need this deal. I can go forever without a deal. And that's okay how my life is set up. Some other people may have those constraints and they have to take that disrespect because they need that check. That's okay. But some people set their lives up. So that's just FYI, so you don't get blindsided. I don't want you to get too cocky working with people and interviewing them, and right? It's a two-way street, but please do your due diligence when you're working with people. It just saves your time. Have a few set of questions that you would love to ask them to find out about their work ethic, their personality, whatever it is, right? Just to dive a little bit deeper and make sure that communication is key. That's the number one thing, is communication. Good communication, clear, concise, and whatever it matches with your personality. Right? It doesn't have to be clear and concise. It could be long out and drawn out, and y'all can yap for hours, whatever it is. If it matches your personality type, you like them, you respect them, you trust them, great. Go ahead and move forward doing business with them, but don't forget that you can fire them and they can fire you too. All right, so let's keep moving. But that's how I found my realtor. So, and here's something that you need to make sure you don't miss. Tap that like and subscribe button to stay up to date on everything real estate, business, stocks, and finance, in particular, military life, transitioning out, military benefits, all of that is right here. And we post content every single day and every single week. So don't forget, like and subscribe. And if you want free guides, free tools, mortgage calculators, stuff like that, you know where to go. Themilitaryrealtor.us. Go check it out. Don't forget, that's me, Mercedes The Military Realtor. Check out that link right there, themilitaryrealtor.us. And you can also schedule a free call there. No obligation. Talk for a few minutes. What's your real estate situation? What's your military situation? Let's have a conversation, right? All right, let's keep it moving here. Woo! All right, so let's get into my renovation mistakes while using my VA loan. So I did not use a renovation loan up front on the house with my VA loan, which you can, and afterwards there's a VA renovation loan. I did not do that specifically. I used my credit primarily to leverage some money, and I was able to leverage about $40,000 worth of work for maybe 10, and then paid it completely off once I sold the property. But contractors, as we know, hiring the wrong contractor can turn a dream into a nightmare, right? Freddy Krueger type stuff. So I learned that the hard way. And here's the story with that. So I have a GC running the main show, and he just finished clearing the popcorn ceiling, and now he wants to paint. He's looking for a painter. We run into a little pinch. I look for a painter. I get a recommendation. Get this guy over. Great. I pay him a little bit in cash. He starts the work. I leave to go to Home Depot or something, and then I have the GC give me a call. Right, and the GC is asking, hey, did the guy come to finish the ceiling? I say, yeah. He should have finished by now. And he says, well, I'm here, and the ceiling does not look finished. All right, so I'm like, all right, well, let's go take a look. So I go to the property, and I see the issues in the property, right? So yellow lines, all this stuff. It's just bad work. I go to contact my contractor, right? Send him a text, send him actually give him a call, leave a voicemail, all these things, no return, anything, all day long. So then I have to realize I have to cut my losses, I have to find someone else, I then have to supervise, make sure that it gets done, make sure it gets approved by my GC before this person leaves and before they get paid. So paying a contractor up front for a ceiling paint job sounds like a horrible idea. But that's exactly what I did. And I learned from that lesson. Do not pay folks cash up front. A lot of people have a rule of thumb of maybe 33% of the labor costs or 25% of the labor costs. And then there's also other considerations if you're paying for materials, right? You could pay for all these. You get in the weeds. I like to pay for materials myself because I was writing all this stuff off. So, hey, let's coordinate a Home Depot run. I'll go to Home Depot with you, or I give them authorization to use my Home Depot card. I put them on there if I'm working with the GC for a long amount of time. But usually I would go there, and I could use my military discount as well to get a discount on it. Great, so now I just paid for all materials, and they could get started on the job with no money, no cash deposit, right? A lot of them that are actually going to perform, they're fine with that. They understand. Hey, in this industry, things like that happen. I'm going to get started. Or they may ask for 10%. Or nothing, like I said. Preferred, nothing. All right? And maybe as the job progresses, you pay through, right, to the actual end. And to the actual final walkthrough, you're holding on to at least 25% of the labor cost. Right? If you're paying in draws over time, I'm waiting to the final walkthrough to pay. Do not finish paying out before the final walkthrough when you're working with contractors, whether that's plumbers, electricians, drywall, framers. It doesn't matter. Concrete, lawn, turf, doesn't matter. There's a reason that these contractors are named contractors, because they're all cons. Look, that's a joke. I come from being an electrician in the Navy, so I understand the world of trades and being a contractor 1,000%, right? There's a trade-off there, but you need to protect yourself as a homeowner, as an investor when you're working with contractors, all right? So let's keep it moving. Make sure that they're vetted properly, you got sources, and you're never paying up front. Something to consider, okay? Now, when it comes to selling my home and market timing, which was great during the COVID time, right? A lot of you guys know people were overpaying, and there's a saying, you can overpay if you would like to. You can overpay, but you're never going to be able to change that. Now, you can, let's say, get a higher interest rate, but you can always refi. But you cannot always fix overpaying on the price of that property at the time. You can't fix that. Okay, so something to consider. Now, I did make a killing when I sold my first home, but looking back, this was one of the biggest lessons that I realized was a mistake when I was using my VA loan for this property here. So it was great that I was able to sell my home for $15,000 over the asking price in a hot market, but I feel like, knowing what I know now, I didn't use my proceeds strategically. So I could have considered rolling the profits into another property, especially because I lived in the property for 2 out of the last 5 years. So I had a Section 121 tax exemption, which if you're single is up to $250,000, and if you're married, up to $500,000 now. And I could have done a 1031 exchange if I would have classified part of the property as rental property, which I was house hacking some of that property. So if I were going to move this property into, or excuse me, the proceeds of this property into another property, I could use the 1031 exchange, and there are incentives there. So you get the ball rolling, and the ball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you keep benefiting from these incentives from the 1031 exchange, in this case right here, over time as you keep rolling through each property. Rental properties, so you have to qualify. Okay, now plan ahead and think long term about your strategy, and that's what I work with a lot of people is ideally let's nail down what you want, right? We need to work this problem back, and then we can get to the strategy. For some people, they may be ready to jump straight into multifamily, to purchase multifamily, which you can purchase a 4-unit or buy up to a 4-unit using your VA loan. Now, if you have the capita, great, jump right into that. Or maybe go bigger, right? If you have all of that capita, you want to get into 6-unit, 8-unit, 10-unit, not using your VA loan, great. Or you may not have the capita, and you may just want to get into a condo or a townhouse or a small, cheaper single-family home to build some equity, build some appreciation, and then take that out and use it to roll into multifamily, right? Or more single families. But the point here is we want to get this ball rolling and keep it rolling and getting it bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the opportunity that I missed while using my VA loan on this property here. So the opportunity that was missed was multifamily, all right? And that is where I wish I definitely had a different move. And let's explain it. Let me explain exactly where I would have went differently when using my VA loan and selling my first house. Man, what could we say? So with multifamily, what I could have done is from the proceeds of my single family home sale, I could have rolled those proceeds into another property. I would have most likely chosen a 4-unit and gotten a VA loan under that 4-unit, right? Which is great. You have VA loan benefits, no PMI, possibly 0 interest down, right? A lot of protections. It helps. So I could have rolled the profits that I earned from owning my single family house, my first house for 3 years, house hacking it, doing value adds, renovations to it, and with appreciation in the market. It was 2020, COVID was hot. The beginning of 2020, COVID was hot. It was right before it was really announced and the world started to shut down and people were 0% interest, all this hype, and it was a great time, right? Now those profits could have been rolled into a multifamily. Now why do I say that specifically? Well, with multifamily, especially with the VA loan, you need reserves. You need reserves. You need at least 6 months of reserves of the mortgage. Not to include, you may need earnest money for the deal. You may need inspections for the deal. You may need additional reports for the deal. You may need to pay your realtor. You may need to pay the other realtor. There's a bunch of possibilities, right, that you may need in order to actually go through with the deal. And I would like to be prepared with capita in order to mitigate those, to pay for whatever inspections we got to do. You may pay $5,000 in inspections on a multifamily property that you really, really want. So that's something to consider. The earnest money may be $20,000 on a 4-unit. Who knows? It may be 0. Who knows? Or maybe a large amount. So are you prepared for that, right? To put that offer in and provide that earnest money. Are you available to pay for the title and for all the admin fees and for the broker fees if there are any? So those are things to consider. Now that's what I would have rolled the profits of selling my first VA loan property. That's what I would have done. I would have rolled it right into multifamily. You live in one of the units. Now here's where you can get into a little bit more house hacking, where you can have, let's say, 4 units. Let's say each of those are 2-bedroom, 1-bath, right? You can live in one of the bedrooms in one of the units, and you can rent out the other bedroom in the unit. So now you're maximizing your space even more with what you have. You have 3 doors that you're renting out completely with 2 bedrooms in each one. You could pad split those each if you wanted to, right, get individuals, they don't necessarily know each other, but you do pass split, bring them together, and they may pay more than what one family or one person may pay for that unit. So for example, one person may pay $2,000 for this 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit, or you may have two separate individuals that may pay $1,250 each to then produce $2,500. Who knows, right? But it's a possibility. So now you got the other 3 units leased out, and then possibly you're completely in the last unit, or you're renting out another room or space in that additional unit and you're maximizing it. So that's a possibility. Now, I don't like to say that I should have done that, because you can should on yourself all day. I took a different route where I wanted to chase after a small business that was 100% veteran owned and operated. I got to be extremely creative. I got to meet people. I got to do different things. I got to experience my first taste of business. And it was a great time. I would not change it. I would not change it, because I needed to learn those lessons, to go through that, to become who I am today. Now, if right, it was coming from people that maybe owned 1 home, maybe 2 homes, but not 4 units, 8 units, 10 units, 12 units, and many of them were still in the military, but I knew that they weren't extremely investor focused. I just knew it was the tip of the iceberg. So I didn't have enough trust, enough confidence to step into that realm. So I would have wished I had a counselor like myself, right? A guide, a counselor, whatever you want to call it, like myself at the time while I was serving in the military, to help me understand my options for my investments, whether it's real estate, cash, business, stocks, finance. I wish I had someone like who I am today that was out, that was in the shoes that I was in and has transitioned out. In the Navy, we have career counselors, okay? 1, some of them barely counsel you on your career, right? They barely. But 2, that's all they can do. They can't really guide you on real estate, business, stocks, or finance. And your base may not have a local representative that can talk to you about those things, right? The only person on base is what, the base lawyer, JAG? What are they going to help you with? Exactly, right? So comes people like me that realize, hey, service members need help. We need guidance, right? The people that are in are in. You can't always know what's going on in the world in real estate, business, stocks, and finance when you're serving, when you're working 12-hour days and you got kids and you got your wife and you got mission. You're about to deploy. You got shot at. All these things going on. You don't have time. So that's why I could see that a lot of the people in the military, they weren't necessarily full investors, and that's what I was fully looking for. I was looking for, where are my people? Where are the fellow investors, right? Where are the people that want to break out of this military construct here, this 9 to 5, because that's in a way what the military is. It's corporate camouflage. In a lot of sense, it can be corporate camouflage. Now, if I could choose which one, I would choose military over corporate, almost 1,000%, just because of a few things, but they're still very, very similar. All right, so let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling here. So let's talk about my strategic planning for future investments, okay? And it's incredibly important to leverage your VA loan strategically, because there's a way to stack things, right? There's a way to use your entitlement. There's a way to get a restoration. And there's a way to use other loan programs like FHA or USDA, something to consider. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect, but we need to at least set a type of framework now with the information we have. And as time goes by, we update this information, things change, economies change, opportunities change, and we update it. But at least we have a conversation now of what is your intention? What does the future look like? What do you want? Do you actually want to retire? Life would be different if you told me, hey, I want to retire at 40. When I get my 20 years in the military, I want to actually retire so I can spend time with my kids. I can help them grow into young men and young women and young theys, thems, and kids, right? Your grandkids. But that's different than some folks that they want to retire, but they still want to keep working. Right? And then I ask why. Why do you want to keep working? Is it monetary? Is it you don't know who you are, so you're running from yourself and you only know how to process life by keeping your brain busy by working? Or is it for some other reason, right? To be honest, if we could set you up where by the time you get out of the military, you have enough investments in your TSP or BRS your Roth IRA, real estate, any businesses you started, purchased, or invested in, stocks, and any type of finance, which I include crypto. Imagine multiple streams of income. A lot of people say 7 streams of income, but this could be 6. You could have 7, you could have 10, you got 4, whatever works. Let's have the conversation now. There's too many people that they're about to retire from the military and they have no investments and they think that their military pension is enough. Then they run the numbers, it's not enough. Then they run full disability. It's still not enough. And you could have prepared 20 years prior, 15 years prior, 10 years prior, even 5 years prior, even 3 years prior. Just before the year you get out, let's have the conversation. Let's try to set you up. But we need time for investments. That's why it's incredibly important to start investing early in your career. Early, 18, 19, 20 years old, you get money coming in, start investing that money early so we have compounding interest over time. Whether it's real estate, business, stocks, or finance, compounding interest over time is the key. So you could do minimal work and put money in, and in 20 years it blows up, versus someone that they just realized their last year that, oh, I gotta go. That's not how the market works. You can do as much work as you want. You can stay up for 24 hours forever, for 365. Compounding interest and your investments can only work so fast. And at times you're trading a lot of risk. So you'll see people that they're getting out in 3, 2, or 1 years, and they're taking high risk trades, high risk investments with their precious money that they've saved for so long, because they think that they're going to flip that K that they had in their IRA or whatever into 4.5 mil because they need to in 3 months, because now they're getting out and they realize, hey, my expenses are actually way more. My expenses for my kids, insurance, all these things, travel, savings, blah, 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 investments, it's $10,000 a month. Well, you're with your retirement and your disability, you're bringing in 6. Or on the other side, right? Your expenses are actually 5, but you're bringing in 6. So now you may not need to go get that job that you thought you needed to get, right? Because you're realizing, hey, my expenses are actually lower than what I'm bringing in with my retirement and my disability. So now I can maybe do what I want. Maybe I can actually go to my kids' recital, or I can actually help them become adults, or I can help my grandkids, or I can have a hobby, or I can find myself and figure out who I am outside of the uniform, or outside of your specific suit and tie, right? That's the goal there, is to identify specific, what is it that you want in this life? Do you want to retire? Do you want to still be a pipe hitter and still go do things downrange and operations and op tempo and stuff like that? And then I just asked you to ponder why. Is it for other reasons? Is it because you don't want to know more about yourself, your family, your kids? What is it? What really gets you nervous? What is it that makes you not want to live for service to others, but also service to yourself in the best way possible? And that's by knowing yourself and loving yourself. All right, so let's keep going. That was a little sidebar there, a little sermon on that. But look, if you get anything from this, if you get one thing from this, all right, ready? If you get one thing from this, it's make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that button right there so you stay up to date, right? Mercedes the Military Realtor, I create content every day, every week about the VA loan, military benefits, life in the military, transitioning out, and life and benefits as a veteran, okay? So make sure you're liking and subscribing, showing that support. And if you want free resources, free guides, free mortgage calculators, go to themilitaryrealtor.us. You can also schedule your own free, no consultation call with me right here, all right? Get on the schedule. Let's talk about your real estate, business, stocks, finance, military career, transitioning. Let's talk about it. All right, let's keep moving here. I got more mistakes. I got more mistakes to talk about, okay? Now, I already mentioned the 1031. That's a possibility if your property or part of it is considered a rental and you're rolling into another like-kind property. Like-kind doesn't have to mean it has to be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It doesn't mean this is a single family and this is a single family. It's not what it means. It's not what it means. If If you have a single family, you can 1031 into a 4-unit. Surprise! Okay, so don't get confused with like kind. Like kind has a different context. Anyways, I won't beat that dead horse. There are 1031 professionals that you would work with in a 1031 exchange process along with your realtor and lender if you need one, but that is a whole specialty, and that's how you keep rolling these incentives from property to property. All right, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. So looking back at my mistakes and moving forward, we really have to reflect on what I would do different, right? We have the earnest money. I would have educated myself more on that process. We have working with contractors. I would have educated myself more on that process right there. And we have the investment of your profits. That is something I would have done more education on and focus more on an exit, right? And more, I know I did my due diligence. I know I did some research and stuff, but I really feel like I would have made a different choice if I had a little bit more of information and confidence within people that were telling me to possibly roll my money into multifamily or into a rental. And the reason for that, like I said, is I didn't see them with XYZ. Or I didn't, not necessarily that they needed to have a current multifamily portfolio or rental portfolio, but at least if they would have said, oh, I've done this before, right? Oh, I bought a 4-unit before. This is what you should do. Rather, it was, oh, I've never bought a 4-unit, or I've never bought a single family, so go do this, and you may fare out, right? Even if they've never done it, if they were to sit with me and go through the entire process and guide me through it, I'm sure I would have made a different choice, but that is not their responsibility. It's our responsibility on how we choose to educate ourselves, how we choose to invest, and what we choose to do with whatever strategies we've got, okay? So never look at anyone else to point, even that contractor that called me, right? I cannot say that, right? I could say that person was malicious, did dirty work, well, all this stuff. Hey, what happened, right? What happened. I can't change it. So we got to move on and keep rolling from here. But those are the main mistakes that I learned the first time using my VA loan to purchase a home. And it was an amazing experience. They weren't the worst experiences. Thank you, Lord, out there, because some folks have some horror stories. But what I've learned is working with professionals, doing your due diligence, really getting into the weeds can help mitigate a lot of the problems, okay? You have to get into the weeds, you have to put intention to it, and you have to know what you want. Too many people out here that don't know what they want in real estate. They say, well, I'll take anything from this to this, right? And us realtors, we can't focus that down. So we have to help you figure out that criteria and focus and concentrate your investment strategy. And they could be multiple strategies. You could start off with a single family and then get into multifamilies. Or you could start with multifamilies, get into single families. Whatever you like, right? Don't forget to visit the Military Realtor, and you can visit to schedule your free consultation. All right, so don't forget it, y'all. But look, I had fun. It's about that time. Drop your comments and thoughts below on these mistakes and what you would actually do differently. And if you have any of your own mistakes, please comment below. That's the whole point of all of this. We have to share our experiences so you can help Airman Schmuckatelli or whoever else that's coming up behind you, right? Our whole point is to help others coming behind us, pause those arriving behind us, and those that have gone before us, all right? All right, so let's not forget that, and don't forget to visit themilitaryrealtor.us to schedule your free, no obligation consultation. We'll talk about whatever you got, real estate, business, stocks, finance, especially if you're in the military, right? In the military, you're going in the military, you're transitioning out, you're a veteran, whatever it is, I'm here to talk to you. I'm Mercedes, the Military Realtor. Take care, God bless, and don't forget that ownership is freedom. All right, y'all? Peace.